At 27, I had an arrangement with a college student. As long as she was with me, I'd pay her tuition and make sure her family, the old, the sick, the fragile, were taken care of. And so, the soft-featured girl stayed with me for 5 years. Then my company went bankrupt, and I was buried in debt. My enemies left me for dead in a drainage ditch, my legs shattered. The last I saw of her, she was with her college sweetheart, confessing how much she'd missed him, their hands clasped as they cried together. I left without a word, and she never once looked for me. Years later, I was a janitor. While I was hauling trash out of a convention center, she was on stage, a celebrated genius in the world of scientific research, commanding the attention of thousands. My gaze locked on Serafina, and Maria, the woman cleaning the aisle next to me, leaned in and whispered, "I hear she's the star of this whole symposium. Just won some huge international award." She gestured with her chin. "See that guy with her? The handsome one? Word is, that's her old college flame. Getting married." Maria's words were like a fist closing around my numb heart. A long-forgotten pain ripped through me, sharp and visceral. It was a struggle to breathe. On stage, Serafina was in the middle of an interview. A strand of dark hair fell across her cheek, and Leo Morgan, the man beside her, gently tucked it behind her ear. They shared a smile, and the air between them seemed to shimmer with a sweetness I'd never known. The moderator saw it too. "You two are an absolutely beautiful couple," she beamed. "Have you set a date yet?" Serafina seemed lost in thought for a moment, but Leo's eyes never left her face. "Everything's ready on my end," he said, his voice a warm caress. "I'm just waiting for Sarah to say yes." At that, Serafina's lips curved into a genuine smile, a constellation of tiny lights dancing in her eyes. I had never seen her look like that. In my memory, Serafina was always quiet, her gaze distant, her face a mask of placid indifference. There was never a trace of smile. It turns out the difference between being loved and not being loved is devastatingly obvious. The moderator, sensing a story, pressed on about their relationship. Serafina paused, then squeezed Leo's hand. "When I was at my lowest," she said, her voice soft but clear, "Leo was the one who appeared by my side. He helped me get through some of the hardest days of my life." A sudden, sharp sting hit the back of my nose. I knew what she was talking about. The 5 years she spent with me. No one in that gleaming hall would ever know that Serafina Hayes had once been my girlfriend. I dropped my head, my eyes falling to my own hands, dry, cracked, and covered in calluses. Miles away, on that stage, Serafina wore a tailored trench coat, and the pearl earrings she wore glowed with a soft, warm light. Leo, beside her, was dressed in a perfectly fitted suit. They were a golden couple, a perfect match. They stood in the center of the crowd, adored and surrounded. And me? I was just a janitor, the lowest man on the totem pole. The gulf between us was no longer just a crack. It was a canyon. I never thought I'd see her again. At 27, Serafina Hayes looked just as she had the first time I ever laid eyes on her. Just as young, just as beautiful. It was as if time had been afraid to touch her. I met Serafina when she was 20. She stood before me in a washed-out, faded blouse, her posture timid. Back then, I was flush with cash, my family's wealth a solid foundation beneath me. With their help, I'd launch my own tech startup and become one of Boston's up-and-coming wunderkinds, shedding the label of a spoiled trust fund kid. When I first saw her, she was standing awkwardly at the entrance of our family estate, a large, bulging duffel bag at her feet. The sun illuminated the fine, downy hair on her face. She was a scholarship student my parents were sponsoring. She'd come that day to thank them for their years of support, her cheeks flushing as she pulled out a few bags of homegrown vegetables from her bag. Some of the dirt-caked produce tumbled onto the polished marble floor. Her face went crimson, and tears welled in her eyes. But those eyes, they were so incredibly clear. In that one glance, I was gone, head over heels. Serafina was beautiful and brilliant, which, combined with her poverty, made her a prime target for bullies. I found her once, pulled her from the freezing campus pond after they'd pushed her in. She was unconscious, but she was still muttering about needing to pay her parents' medical bills. When she woke up, her eyes were red-rimmed as she thanked me over and over. Over the next few weeks, she started to see me as a big brother, but that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted her to be my woman. I wanted to protect her, to take care of her. Seeing her pale and fragile, the words came out of me before I could stop them. "Sarah, be with me. I can protect you. I'll take care of you, pay for your college, and make sure your family gets the best medical care money can buy." I was an only child, accustomed to getting whatever I wanted. If I desired something, it would be delivered to me by the next day. Everyone in my life catered to my whims, leading me to believe that anything I wanted was rightfully mine. No one ever taught me how to tell a girl I liked her, but when I saw her face drain of all color, her body trembling at my words, I felt a pang of regret. I shouldn't have been so blunt. As her slender frame swayed, I started to panic. Just as I was scrambling for what to do, Serafina nodded. She agreed to be with me. I was ecstatic. I didn't see the despair in her eyes. I didn't see the hopelessness in her smile. After we got together, I heard from someone else that she and her classmate, Leo Morgan, had been on the verge of becoming a couple. My arrival had forced them apart. Leo abruptly transferred to a program at Oxford. The night he left, Serafina cried all night long. I didn't know what to do, so I just tried to be better to her, to give her more. I thought if I was good enough to her, she would forget Leo and truly be with me. But the moment my company collapsed, she left me without a second thought and went right back to him. Back then, dragging my broken legs, I had watched them together, listened as they spoke of their longing, their hands clasped in tears. I felt like a pathetic clown. Julian? You okay? Maria's voice snapped me out of my memories. I subconsciously touched my cheek and felt the dampness of tears. Sniffling, I forced a smile. It's nothing, Maria. Just got something in my eye. I wiped my face dry. She gave me a worried look. Well, hurry up and finish. You should go get some rest. She turned and headed off with her broom toward another section. I straightened up, and a searing pain shot through my lower back. My vision went black for a second. My hands went limp, and the trash bag I was holding slipped from my grasp. Its contents spilled out, rolling across the floor. A half-eaten sandwich landed squarely on the polished leather shoe of a man in a tailored suit. He looked down at the stain on his pristine shoe, and a vein pulsed in his forehead. He kicked out viciously, his foot connecting with the small of my back. I lost my balance and sprawled onto the floor. Look what you did, you idiot, he snarled. You got your filth all over my shoes. He looked at the sticky residue clinging to the leather, his face twisting in disgust. Disgusting. He raised his foot again and kicked me hard in the ribs. My world swam. My head was spinning. I curled into a ball, instinctively trying to protect myself as I mumbled apologies. What good is an apology, he spat. If saying sorry fixed everything, we wouldn't need cops. The commotion was starting to draw attention. I didn't want Serafina to see me like this, to find me in this pathetic state. Sir, I'm so sorry, I said, my voice strained. I can pay for the shoes. I'll pay to have them clean. He let out a bark of laughter, as if I just told the funniest joke in the world. He laughed so hard he had to catch his breath. Pay? Do you have any idea how much these shoes cost? He sneered. $2,000. If I were the old Julian Vance, 2,000 would have been nothing. 20,000, 200,000, I wouldn't have blinked. But now, I fell silent, my hand tightening in my worn-out pocket around the $50 bill that was all I had. The man stared down at me like I was an insect. After a moment, he offered a sliver of mercy. Lick my shoe clean, and I'll let it go. Otherwise, I'm having a word with the event manager about you. My blood ran cold. I had nothing left. I couldn't lose this job, or I'd literally starve. Over the years, I'd done whatever it took to survive, casting my pride aside long ago. But this time, my body refused to bend. I could feel the eyes of the crowd on me, and panic began to set in. The last thing I wanted was to draw more attention, especially her attention. But it was too late. Serafina had noticed the disturbance. She hesitated for a second, then started walking toward us. Her footsteps echoed in my head, each one a hammer blow against my heart, throwing it into chaos. With every step she took, a voice inside me screamed, "Get out of here." Has she recognized me? The thought made my heart stop. A cold dread washed over me. I kept my head down, wishing the floor would open up and swallow me whole. Anything to escape her scrutinizing gaze. She was getting closer. My body started to shake uncontrollably. I tried to push myself up, to crawl away from this suffocating nightmare. But just as I moved, the man kicked me down again, planting his shoe on my cheek and grinding it into the floor. Serafina was standing right in front of me. I squeezed my eyes shut, wishing I could just die on the spot. Then, a familiar voice drifted down from above. What's going on here? After Serafina heard the man's side of the story, she paused. When she spoke again, her tone was glacial. I'll pay for him. Double. And you will apologize to him. Under Serafina's piercing gaze, the man shot me a venomous glare before mumbling a reluctant apology. I buried my face in my arms, refusing to look up. Serafina stood over me, silent, just watching. The air grew thick and heavy. After what felt like an eternity, she spoke, her voice flat. Julian, how long are you going to lie there on the floor? I shut my eyes for a moment. She knew. Of course she knew. She hated me so much, she could probably pick my ashes out of a fireplace. Giving up, I finally looked up. Gritting my teeth against the pain, I pushed myself to my feet. I kept my head bowed, feigning a calmness I didn't feel. Thanks for stepping in. Just then, Leo Morgan walked over and took her hand. Sarah, what happened? His eyes fell on me, a flicker of surprise in their depths. I bit the inside of my cheek, using the pain to keep myself grounded. Serafina let out a cold laugh. Just ran into someone I used to know. It's not important. Let's go, we have a meeting. Her words were a dagger, twisting in my chest. The event manager finally bustled over. Seeing the grim look on Serafina's face, he didn't hesitate. He slapped me hard across the face. What the hell is wrong with you? He shouted. Offending our guest of honor. Apologize to Ms. Hayes right now. My cheek stung, the force of the blow making my head spin. I grabbed onto a nearby table to keep from falling. Do you want to keep your job or not? Apologize. The manager's voice echoed in my ears. Swallowing the bitterness in my throat, I mumbled, I'm sorry, Ms. Hayes. Serafina just watched me, her expression unreadable. For a fleeting moment, I thought I heard her sigh. I must be losing it, I thought, a bitter smile forming on my lips. I was already hearing things. Seeing that she wasn't responding, the manager grew more agitated and kicked me again. I stumbled and fell to the ground. Maybe it was a trick of the light, but for a split second, I thought I saw a flicker of pain in her eyes. But when I looked again, all I saw was a vast, cold distance. I don't want to see this person here again, Serafina said. The manager understood immediately. Vance, you're fired. Get out. I looked straight at her, a self-mocking smile on my face. Still hate me, huh? Her voice grew even colder as she turned away. Yes, I wish you would disappear from the face of the earth. Her words hammered at my heart. I gave a broken laugh and started to leave. But then she called my name. She opened her wallet, pulled out a thick wad of cash, and threw it on the floor in front of me. This is for your trouble. The bills fluttered down, landing at my feet like feathers, but they felt like mountains, crushing me with their weight. A hot wave of shame washed over me, a final, desperate attempt to awaken my long-dead pride. But in the end, I bent down and picked up every single bill. Outside the convention center, a blast of cold wind hit me, and my body gave out. I stumbled backward, and just before everything went dark, I saw two familiar faces rush toward me. When I came to, I was in a hospital bed. A woman was sitting in a chair beside me. Seeing me awake, she gave me a gentle smile. You're awake. Her expression turned serious. I heard you're fired. Have you given any more thought to my offer? I lowered my eyes and said nothing. A doctor came in. After a brief examination, he shook his head at me. I told you before, you need to eat regular, healthy meals. Your health is getting worse by the day. If you keep this up, we're going to have to remove a large part of your stomach. He added pointedly, and you need to follow the treatment plan. I just smiled weakly, not knowing what to say. Just then, the door to the room opened and Serafina walked in. Her tone was sharp. What's wrong with you? How'd you let yourself get like this? Seeing her upset, my first instinct was to say something to make her feel better, to smooth things over. But the words died on my tongue. The man I was now and the woman she had become were from two different universes. She was a research prodigy with a future brighter than the sun. I was a janitor who spent his days surrounded by garbage. We didn't belong in the same world anymore. Besides, she never needed me. Why humiliate myself? How could you end up like this? She demanded, her gaze cold. I offered a silent, humorless smile. After the bankruptcy, after my legs were broken, no one would hire me, and no one offered a hand. I ended up in a new city, alone. It was a rough time. I slept under bridges, ate scraps out of dumpsters. My bad legs made it impossible to find decent work. One day, on the verge of starvation, I found a stale roll in a trash can. As I ate it, something inside me finally broke. I shed the last of my pride and became a janitor. But there was no point in telling her any of that. My eyes lingered on her, a deep sense of longing washing over me. For so long, I thought I hated her. Hated her for not loving me, for abandoning me. But seeing her now, all the feelings I had suppressed for years came rushing back to the surface. I had to admit it. I was still deeply in love with Serafina. Seeing my silence, she looked anxious and took a step toward me. But she was stopped by the woman sitting beside my bed. It was only then that Serafina seemed to notice there was a third person in the room. She frowned, her fine eyebrows knitting together. And you are? The woman smiled, a look of profound meaning in her eyes. My name is Victoria Croft. As for who I am, you should ask Julian. I glanced at Victoria, then at Serafina. Under Serafina's stunned and disbelieving gaze, I reached out and took Victoria's hand. Ms. Hayes, I said, my voice steady. Allow me to introduce you. This is my girlfriend. We're getting married soon. A week later, I was discharged from the hospital. Victoria took me to a private room in an upscale restaurant. She looked at me, her expression complicated. Julian, are you sure you want to do this? A nearby waiter was discreetly sizing me up, his eyes filled with curiosity. I ignored him. I was used to looks like that by now. I looked at Victoria. I remembered when I first arrived in this city, broke and desperate. She had taken one look at me and decided she wanted me as her lover. I had refused adamantly. My refusal had angered her. With her influence, she made sure no one would give me a job. In the end, the only work I could find was sweeping streets. I saw my reflection in her eyes. My face was haggard, but I guess some of my old looks were still there. A bitter smile touched my lips. I used to despise people who use their looks to get ahead. I never imagined I'd end up being one of them. I sighed. Victoria, I'm sorry. I used you. You can punish me however you want. My voice was flat. I'm dying anyway. My life is worthless. Do whatever you want. Her pupils constricted. What are you talking about? With a humorless laugh, I reached into the inner pocket of my jacket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. It was my medical report. I handed it to her, my voice ceremoniously calm. I have stomach cancer. It's terminal. Victoria's eyes turned red. Just then, a slight noise came from behind the decorative screen in the corner of the room. I glanced over, curious. The waiter emerged, holding a cat. So sorry, he said. The owner's cat slipped in here. After the waiter left, Victoria composed herself. She handed the report back to me. That Ms. Hayes I saw at the hospital. I think she's in love with you. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut, leaving me dizzy. I instinctively refuted her. Impossible. She hates my guts. Victoria shook her head. Julian, I'm a woman. I've loved and I've been loved. I know what it looks like when someone is in love, even if they're trying desperately to show you nothing but coldness. She paused. You know, you look a lot like a man I once loved. That's why Your pride is unbelievable. If you had just swallowed it and said a few nice words to me, I wouldn't have made things so hard on you. She poured me a glass of water and asked me how Serafina and I had gotten together. I tried to recall the details of our time together, but my mind was a blur. All I could remember was Serafina's distant gaze. Did she love me? I didn't know, and I didn't want to know anymore. Seeing my silence, Victoria fell quiet too. After a long moment, she asked, I did some digging. Ms. Hayes came to this city specifically to find you. Her eyes searched mine. What you said at the hospital, was that all an act because of your illness? I glanced at the swaying screen, my vision blurring at the edges. These days I was getting weaker, and the world often appeared in double. And yet, the image of Serafina, every expression, every movement, was clearer than ever. I thought about what people said about her and Leo Morgan, a brilliant pair, a match made in heaven. I was just a bystander of a broken-down janitor with crippled legs. I managed a weak smile. The last time I went to see Serafina, she was crying in Leo Morgan's arms. If it weren't for her, my company wouldn't have gone under, my parents wouldn't be dead. To me, she's the enemy. I forced the words out. Why would I ever get back together with the person who destroyed my life? The moment the words left my mouth, a sharp, crashing sound came from behind the screen. As I stared in confusion, Victoria smiled knowingly. You two should talk. I'll see myself out. Serafina stepped out from behind the screen, tears streaming down her face as she looked at me. She rushed toward me and grabbed my hand. Her face was a mess of tears and pain. Ignoring the grime on my clothes, she threw her arms around me, holding me tight. Julian, please don't leave me, she sobbed. Please. I pushed her away. A small, cold laugh escaped me. Serafina, do you really think I'd get back together with the woman who caused my father's death? At my words, the color drained from her face. She desperately clutched my arm. Julian, I didn't. I looked at her, my expression unreadable. After my company went bankrupt and the family business collapsed, my father's old executive assistant came to see me before he left. His usually calm face was filled with regret. I'm sorry, Mr. Vance, he'd said. I can't stay with you any longer. I wasn't angry. If anyone needed to apologize, it was me. He had a family to support. His wife was pregnant, and I had left him unemployed. But with the last of my connections, I had managed to find him a new position. Before he left, he handed me a file. It contained security logs showing that Serafina and Leo Morgan had entered my private study. The very next day, our company's most valuable trade secrets were leaked. I held that file, saying nothing. It wasn't until my business rival had my legs broken and I crawled to Serafina's apartment, only to see her gazing lovingly at Leo, that the certainty began to crack. In the 3 years we were together, I was sure of one thing. Serafina didn't love me. Her eyes were always tinged with a deep sadness. I had naively believed that if I was good enough to her, she would eventually forget Leo and commit her heart to me. But I was awake now. I gave up on confronting her. What was done was done. The Vance family was ruined. My father was dead. Even if I wanted revenge, I was powerless. My resources were gone. Money makes the world go round, and I had none. The few loyal people I had left were no match for her. I didn't want to drag them into a fight against her anyway, so I just disappeared. At first, I was bitter about her callousness. But over these past 4 years, I've had time to think. I was the one who had trapped her, who had separated her from the man she loved. She had every right to hate me. Besides, I knew Serafina. She wasn't capable of something so treacherous. The girl I loved was pure and kind, the type who would rescue stray kittens and stand up for injustice. She wouldn't become that person, no matter how much she despised me. Still, I couldn't be with her again. I had to admit, when she asked me to come back, my long-dormant heart had stirred back to life. For a moment, looking into her shining eyes, I was ready to say yes. But then I saw her expensive dress, her luxurious jewelry, and I finally understood. We were from different worlds now. I would only drag her down. I was a cripple, a failed businessman. What right did I have to be with her? I would only make her a target of ridicule. I didn't know for sure if Leo had leaked the secrets behind her back, but I had to warn her. If he was a good man, she would be safe. But if he was the snake I suspected he was, I couldn't rest easy knowing she was by his side. There was nothing more I could do. I had no power. All I could do was plant a seed of doubt. Serafina was brilliant. She would figure out. Before Serafina could say anything else, the door to the private room swung open. Leon Morgan entered, followed by a crowd of people. He was holding a large bouquet of roses. His eyes were fixed on Serafina, full of adoration. "Sarah," he said smoothly, "I've waited 4 years for you. Don't you think it's time you made it official?" The group, at least a dozen people, swarmed around them, their chatter breaking the tense silence and filling the room with a light, festive atmosphere. "Leo, my man, you still haven't proposed to Dr. Hayes? That's not right. A woman this incredible should have been locked down years ago." One of them joked. Leo beamed. "We've both been focused on our careers. Besides, a proposal is my job, and I plan to do it right." He looked at Serafina tenderly. "It's my fault for being too busy. I made Sarah wait far too long." His words were flawless, earning murmurs of approval from the crowd. "Good things come to those who wait. You've been by her side all these years. Not just anyone could do that." "No kidding. Dr. Hayes and Leo Morgan are a perfect match." Someone else chimed in wistfully. "Dr. Hayes, Leo is a great guy. Don't let him get away. If I weren't a guy myself, I'd be trying to steal him from you." A storm of conflicting emotions churned inside me. I decided to leave, but my presence had finally registered with the group. "Isn't that the great Julian Vance? What's with the wheelchair? Trying to play the pity card for Dr. Hayes? Take a look at yourself. Do you really think you belong in the same room as her? Yeah, you used your power to break them up back in the day, and now you're back to cause more trouble? Have you no shame?" Over the years, I had endured countless insults, endless humiliation. But this time, I wished the ground would swallow me whole. I couldn't bear for Serafina to see me like this, the target of their scorn. It was the only shred of dignity I had left. As I turned my wheelchair to leave, burning with shame, someone maliciously stuck out a foot. I tumbled out of the chair, landing hard on the floor amidst spilled food and broken glass. Leo pinched his nose in disgust. "All right, that's enough. Just let him go. You hear that? Get the hell out of here. A dog like you doesn't belong in a place like this." Numb, I started to pull myself up. I didn't know who it was, but a leg came down, pressing hard on my back. A jeering voice followed. "A dog needs to act like a dog. You're going to crawl out of here." I froze. Looking up, I saw Serafina's expressionless face. A wave of despair and rage washed over me. Clenching my jaw, I prepared to crawl. Suddenly, Serafina's voice cut through the noise, a raw, furious shout. "Enough!" She pulled out her phone and made a call. Moments later, my former executive assistant appeared at the door. When he saw me, a flash of pain crossed his eyes. He carefully stepped around me and stood before Serafina. She pointed at me. "Take him downstairs, get him a change of clothes, and have a doctor look at his legs. Find the best specialist there is." A look of relief washed over the assistant's face. Leo stared in disbelief. "So, Serafina didn't look at anyone. Her face was a blank mask. "I have a soft spot. I don't like seeing innocent people get bullied." She glanced at Leo, whose face had fallen, and sighed. "It was a long time ago. What's done is done. We were both just using each other for what we needed." She turned to leave. I have some things to take care of at the branch office. I'm leaving. After Serafina left, Leo shot me a cold, hard look before leading his entourage out of the room. Once they were all gone, the assistant's eyes were red. Mr. Vance, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I gave a weak smile. Just call me Julian. I'm hardly Mr. Vance anymore. I looked at him. You've done well for yourself these past few years. I don't know how you ended up working for Serafina, but it puts my mind at ease. My words only seemed to make him more emotional. He carefully helped me back into my wheelchair, then made another call, arranging for a selection of suits to be brought over. When they arrived, I looked at the exquisitely tailored garments and shook my head. Mr. Vance, Julian, he quickly corrected himself. Are these not to your liking? I can have them bring more. Don't go to the trouble, I said. Just buy me something simple, something warm. It doesn't need to look good. I hesitated for a moment before adding, something cheap. I remember there's an outlet mall downtown. You can go there. I'll pay you back. He fell silent. After a long pause, he finally nodded. While we waited, he kept looking at me, like he was bursting to say something. I watched him puzzled. Finally, he seemed to make up his mind. Julian, after you went bankrupt, my wife and I got divorced. She said I wasn't making enough money. And Mr. Vance, please don't blame yourself. It wasn't your fault. It was just my bad luck. He took a deep breath. When I hit rock bottom, Dr. Hayes was the one who gave me a chance. For a long time, I thought she was the one who ruined you. You were so good to me for so many years. I felt like I owed it to you to get justice. After all, the investigation showed. But over these past few years, while I haven't been able to prove anything definitively, I know one thing for sure. It wasn't Dr. Hayes who leaked the company secrets. He looked me straight in the eye. Sir, she's been looking for you for 4 years. After I disappeared without a word, it wasn't just my assistant who was looking for me. It was Serafina. She had searched for me like a woman possessed, spending a fortune, turning the entire city of Boston upside down. She couldn't find a trace of me. She even went to my biggest rival, the man who destroyed me, and knelt before him, begging him to tell her where I was. He sent her to work as a waitress in a sleazy bar, where she was groped and nearly assaulted before the police intervened. My assistant told me Serafina sat at the police station all night, staring at security footage until she found it, a grainy image of my back as I boarded a train out of the city. She finally breathed a sigh of relief, and then she cried for hours. But no matter how much she pleaded, the police wouldn't disclose my destination. It was the last favor I called in, using the last of my connections to erase my tracks completely. After that, she stopped her frantic, blind search. Instead, she poured all her energy into making money. She took the funds she'd transferred from my accounts, sold the jewelry I'd given her, and used it all to buy back the shell of my company. She worked around the clock, treating every 24 hours as if it were 48. In just 1 year, she had won over the key personnel and made a name for herself in Boston's tech scene. In just 4 years, she took the company public, becoming the CEO of a major corporation. The assistant continued. She always said she wasn't looking for you anymore, but she never stopped working. She was trying to build enough power, enough influence to get the police to talk, to force the handful of loyalists you left behind to give you up. She knew she wasn't powerful enough on her own to get them to tell her where you were. The former chief of police had been a recipient of my family's charity for years. He was afraid she wanted to find me only to get revenge. Julian, my assistant, said, his voice heavy, we all had her wrong. I used to think she was only with you for the money, but you should really talk to her properly. His words felt like a lead weight settling in my chest. My lips trembled, but I just gave a bitter laugh and looked down at my useless legs. It's too late. I'm not good enough for her. She deserves better. My assistant slammed his hand on the table, but seeing the tears in my eyes, he fell silent. After a long moment, he spoke again, his voice softer. She loves you very much, Julian. If you leave her again, it will destroy her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had bought her, kept her by my side for 3 years with money. I always thought my feelings were one-sided, that her heart belonged only to Leo. I never dared to imagine that Serafina could actually love me. I heard her in my memory, crying out in her nightmares, Leo, save me. I had watched her fade day by day, like a flower starved of sunlight. I was so sure she didn't love me. And now, someone was telling me that Serafina was deeply in love with me. I instinctively pinched my thigh. The pain was sharp. This wasn't a dream. I covered my face and wept. Seeing that my resolve was wavering, my assistant delivered the final blow. Julian, did you know? Dr. Hayes gave you a daughter. When she gave birth, she hemorrhaged. She barely survived. His voice cracked. She can never have another child. She named her Hope. My assistant's words struck me like a bolt of lightning. I had intended to go back to my tiny apartment, but he took me to a five-star hotel. As I looked around the familiar, opulent lobby, I felt a strange sense of dislocation. You should take some time to think, he said before leaving me. But I didn't get the chance. Leo Morgan requested a meeting. We met in a bright, airy coffee shop. He sipped his coffee, looking down at me with an air of superiority. Then he laughed. You know, Julian, sometimes I really hate you. I looked at him, confused. Why is it, he said, his voice dripping with venom, that you could take her by force, and still, you were the one who won her heart? All these years, no matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, her heart was always with you. His voice rose. Why don't you just die? His words were a knife, twisting in my gut. The pain was unbearable. So it was true. All this time, when I knew nothing, Serafina had fallen in love with me. Leo told me that Serafina's company was on the verge of a major international expansion, backed by the government. He said that this was the most critical period for the business. Yet the moment she found out I was in the city, she dropped everything and came running. She'd been handling all her business remotely, and some of her biggest clients were getting angry. It was all because of me. She refused to leave. She wanted to take me with her. Leo looked at me with contempt. You already wasted so many years of her life. Are you going to ruin her future, too? You claim to love her so much? Then why are you dragging her down? Don't you know that because of you, she never even looks at me, no matter what I do? He leaned in, a conspiratorial glint in his eye. It was my idea, to pretend to be a couple. I told her, what if you saw us and got jealous? What if you came out of hiding to ask her who she really cared about? It was a 1 in a million shot, but for that tiny chance, she actually agreed to it. She agreed to play along with me. I stared at the rage on Leo's face, my own heart a tangled mess of sweet and sour. He suddenly broke into a triumphant smile. Julian, look at us. My status, my success. I'm the one who's her equal now. And you're a cripple. You'll only ever be a burden to her. You'll make her a laughingstock. What will people think when they find out that the brilliant Serafina Hayes' husband, Hope's father, is a disabled man who used to be a beggar? What will that do to their reputation? To her career? His words were poison, seeping into my heart and corroding everything. But I couldn't deny it. He was right. The CEO of a major corporation, with a husband who was a disabled ex-vagrant, a man who had once been financially dependent on a woman himself. It wouldn't matter how much we loved each other. She would be judged, whispered about. The world is cruel to women. How could I let her and our daughter endure that? And besides, I had been a beggar. I was a cripple. How could I ever be worthy of her? Seeing my resolve crumble, Leo smiled with satisfaction. Make her give up on you. I'll take good care of them. I won't let any harm come to them. I thought about what I'd said to Serafina earlier. She must be wary of him by now. But I couldn't be sure. I stared at Leo, a dark thought forming. A man like him deserved to die with me. Then Serafina would be free, with no weaknesses, no threats left in the world. My voice was a raw whisper. What do you want me to do? Do? You're not doing anything. I won't let you leave me again. Serafina's voice, sharp with panic, came from a doorway. She wasn't alone. Several police officers stood behind her. She ran to my side, her eyes scanning me anxiously. Seeing that I was unharmed, she finally let out a breath of relief. Leo's face morphed into a mask of false sincerity. So, what are you doing here? I was just having a chat with Julian. He moved to embrace her, but she took a step back. Without a word, the police moved in and handcuffed him. Leo Morgan, you're under arrest in connection with the theft and sale of corporate trade secrets. You need to come with us. Leo's face went white with terror. I didn't do it, he screamed. As the police dragged him away, he yelled back at Serafina. Sarah, help me. You agreed to it back then. An officer clapped a hand over his mouth before he could finish. Serafina looked at me, her expression fraught with anxiety. Julian, let me explain. I cut her off. I know, it wasn't you, but I'm so tired. Leo was right. I'll only be a burden to you. If you feel sorry for me, just wire me some money every month. No, forget it. Just give me a lump sum now. We shouldn't see each other again. Tears streamed down her face. She took my hands in hers. You are never a burden. Don't you understand? I fell in love with you a long time ago. Maybe I resented you at first, but all the good things you did for me, I kept them all in my heart. Her grip tightened. I don't want to lose you again. You're not a burden. The doctors said your legs can be fixed. And your illness, it's treatable. In the end, I went back to Boston with her. Another year passed. It was spring, and the flowers were in full bloom. I took Serafina and our daughter, Hope, to my father's grave. Looking at the kind smile on his photograph, Serafina gently told our little girl, Sweetie, this is your grandpa. As we started down the hill, I held Hope's small hand. Serafina took my other one, her fingers lacing through mine. We walked slowly, but our steps were sure.